Hi guys, and welcome to my oral presentation. So for my oral presentation, the topic that I chose was the Aurora, Texas UFO crash. So for many of us, when we think of UFO crashes and things of that nature, we often associate it with the infamous Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash that happened back in July 1947. But 50 years before that incident, another incident like that occurred in a small Texas town known as Aurora, which I just said earlier, which is about 50 miles from Dallas. So, on an early spring morning on April 17th, 1897, something rather strange happened in this small Texas town. So, according to witnesses, a cigar-shaped airship made from materials that resembled aluminum and silver had fell out of the sky and crashed through a windmill belonging to a local Texas judge, J.S. Proctor, and bursted into flames. According to the legend, the airship was said to be not of this mortal realm. The pilot who was killed from the accident was actually from a Fort Worth Army outpost. Among the wreckage, residents found the disfigured remains of an alien-like creature, and witnesses deduced that the pilot was definitely not from here and was probably from Mars. The pilot's body was described as petite and Martian-like. Reportedly, the wreckage was actually dumped into a nearby well, and some ended in its grave. Adding to the mystery further, in 1935, a man named Brawley Oates purchased Judge J. S. Proctor's property so he could use it as a water source. Uh, so this well is where the wreckage was left, and he had claimed that the contaminated water actually gave him a severe case of arthritis. So a Dallas Morning News article by a freelance journalist named S.E. Hayden. He reported that the pilot's name was actually T.J. Wim, and according to a reported Army signal, that's how they found out his name. Wims was buried at the local Aurora cemetery and was given a proper Christian burial. His grave marker has a UFO on it, which actually was stolen back in 2018. Back in a 1980 Time magazine interview with an 86-year-old Aurora, Texas resident named Etta Pagus, she claimed that S.E. Hayden made up the story and wrote it as a joke to bring in the interest of tourists to the small dying town of Aurora. Uh, well, nothing really came out of Etta Pagu's claims, and everything just fizzled out. Many people in Aurora referred to the pilot as Ned. Nowadays, Ned is some kind of town mascot and a local legend that brings in tons of tourists. A Texas Historical Commission marker was placed outside the Aurora Cemetery, and it briefly mentions the mysterious incident.